Good afternoon and welcome to the second edition of Community Impact Chronicles. My name is Alyson Small and I am your host. I am so excited today. If you joined us on our last podcast, it was just me explaining a little bit about why we launched this podcast. And today I have two fantastic guests who are going to share their work in this space of supporting seniors and consultants who work with nonprofits all over the Midwest. So I'm truly excited today. But before we get to our guests, I want to share a little bit about some workshops and the summit that will be coming up. So just a reminder, if you are in Marion County, Indianapolis, Indiana, we have a workshop designing powerful nonprofit programs on March 9th. It's a half-day workshop. We will happy to send you information on this workshop. Here's why I'm excited about this workshop. A lot of organizations may not truly understand if they have a full-fledged program versus running a series of activities. And so we have a team of consultants who have been working to customize a training, particularly for grassroots organizations who maybe you're thinking about wanting to start another program and you want to make sure that you're thinking about all of the components necessary. If that's the case, this is the workshop for you. We are still accepting registration and we welcome folks to sign up. There's no cost for this particular workshop. So mark your calendars for Saturday, March 9th. And then I'm super excited about, we are going to have our second annual BIPOC Community Empowerment Summit for grassroots organizations. Last year, we launched this and we had over 100 people come together in a space, all grassroots leaders, where they just were given space to network and to share amongst each other things that are working, not working within their respective organizations. This year, we're going to start with a reception and we're going to end with a reception. We have a dynamic speaker coming in as our keynote for lunch. Again, it's for grassroots leaders in Marion County. You'll start to see more about this in our registration process. So we're really excited about that. And then the last thing I'll mention is that in April, we are going to hold a one-day financial management workshop, again, specifically targeting grassroots organizations. And so if you have been one of the many organizations in Marion County that have been fortunate to get funding from a host of funders throughout the community, and you're not quite sure if you have the financial management system in place, and maybe that just is not something you're comfortable in understanding. This workshop is actually designed to help people who have no knowledge about financial management, just to understand the terminology. We will encourage you to bring your bookkeeper or whoever else on your board or staff that is actually handling the money and the reporting to come with you. But this is designed for people running small organizations with no prior financial management background. So just look forward to that. It's coming. So those are my announcements for today. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and then I'm going to bring back one of my two guests today, Ms. Janice Mackins, to talk about the work of her wonderful organization. We'll be back in a...
Too many women die every year due to pregnancy-related complications. 2/3 of these deaths are preventable. As healthcare professionals, we play a critical role in making sure women's health concerns are addressed during and after pregnancy. Help your patients understand the warning signs and when they should seek care. Actively listen when she raises concerns. It could save her life. Hear her.
Well, welcome back. I am so excited Janet, I knew from the moment we decided to launch this podcast, I knew that I wanted you to be our first guest. And so let us bring Janet on. Um, I met Janet, oh my goodness, I think shortly after I moved to Indianapolis. And I just was always amazed at her energy and her passion for supporting the needs of seniors in this community. And over the years, as we have offered training programs, Janet was usually the first, if not the second person to sign up for all of the training, uh, takes great notes. And, she's the individual that is more likely to ask the questions that other people want to ask, but maybe intimidated to ask. We were always guaranteed that Janet would ask these questions. And so, I'm pleased to introduce Janet Mackins, who is the founder of Silver Citizens. And so, Janet, I'm looking at your bio and I'm like, wow, just so impressive, all of the things that you have done over the years. And sometimes I feel like I need to talk to you about the wellness so I can have as much energy as you have. But welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, yes. So, Janet, tell us. So, I know about Silver Citizens, which is your nonprofit, but I think folks would be interested to understand what was your inspiration for starting Silver Citizen and having this focus on seniors?
Okay. Well, Silver Citizens Inc. Was birthed through Mind, Body, Soul Connection, LLC. We started off first as a for profit organization, but it was only to serve the aging population.
Mm.
And the purpose of Mind, Body, and Soul Connection was to be a consultant to actually to get churches on board
Mm.
to open up an adult day center in their church. Because who does the seniors love? They love their pastor and they love their church. So I just felt led. It was a God-given vision that it would be helpful for seniors to age in place if they can get up and go to their church
Mm.
for activity during the week. But I actually started it that way by meeting with different churches with the business plan. But the problem was they did not have the finance to do it.
Mhm.
And then I learned about Pitch Feast. And when I learned about Pitch Feast, that was the door to open up for Silver Citizens Inc.
I didn't
Yes,
know that. Okay.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I pitched at Pitch Feast in 2015 as Mind, Body, Soul Connection LLC.
Mhm.
I actually was a recipient of. I won the pitch feast that.
Okay.
Yes, and so Mind, Body, and Soul Connection started putting on monthly programs for seniors and caregivers.
Mhm.
God just opened up the door because we started at Speak Easy, and we started putting on programs for seniors, and we didn't have any funding, but I had the faith to get out and ask for donations.
Mm.
So we was able to get donations to provide lunch and to provide care packages. So that's how it all started.
Wow.
Yes. And
Well,
then,
so tell me, what are some of the key programs and services you offer now?
okay. Well, Silver Citizen Inc. actually started in 2020
Okay.
during the pandemic while
Hmm.
everybody was panicking. I was putting together a nonprofit, Silver Citizens Inc. And thanks to Kendria Williams, she
Hmm.
actually helped me with the nonprofit process. And
Well,
so,
and I see your mission statement up there. Mark, can we take it back? Yes.
yes, we're yeah, to improve the quality of life for older adults, veterans, and family caregivers in Marion County who experience social isolation and loneliness. We believe older people should be able to live their lives with hope, optimism, and dignity.
Wow. Very impressive.
Thank you.
So tell me, given your work with seniors, what are some of the challenges that you see in the community that you serve?
Social isolation and loneliness,
Hmm.
and they actually need to get out. And it last no, let's see, 2022, because I kept hearing on the news about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
It was targeting the Black population. And I realized that spiritual wellness, emotional wellness is one of the key to mental health.
Okay.
And so we start putting on emotional wellness workshops in 2022. And that all of our workshops and programs have been a success because it's get the people out to
Mm-hmm.
mingle, to be inspired, and to empower them to share their talents and gifts.
Well, and I think I realized I didn't give you a chance to explain. So, tell folks, what are the programs and services of Silver Citizens?
Okay. Well, we put on monthly programs from April through December.
Mm,
And each month, it's just once a month, and it's at the library. Most of them are at Brightwood Library and Michigan Road Library. And each month there's a theme, and everything is focuses on self-reflection.
mm.
Okay, it's all about when they come in, it's all about them being in the moment and to reflect on themselves.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So when you think about the work that you're doing and your commitment to the community, can you share like some of the challenges you have faced in running your nonprofit? Particularly because it sounds like you started in the midst of COVID. But have there been any challenges that you've experienced?
Allison, I have to be honest with you. This has been a God-given vision.
Hmm.
And to have Kendra to actually walk me through how to do and how to start a nonprofit. She made it easy and simple for me. And then I actually wrote my first grant the same year that I became a nonprofit. And even meeting with CICF,
Hmm.
Julie. I met with her prior before I became a nonprofit, just to meet. And so after we became a nonprofit, I actually contacted her and told her that we are an official nonprofit. And she told me about a grant that was available, which was the senior funds.
Hmm.
And I actually applied for the grant. Now understand this was during COVID, so that means we were not getting out. So what I did, I wrote a grant to provide care packages
Okay.
for the seniors that we have served prior to the pandemic. And so we was able to provide 200 care packages, and we set it up where they actually met where we had like a carpool where they came to the Washington Park parking lot,
Hmm.
fill out a survey, and we gave them a care package.
Wonderful. Wow.
Yes, yes.
So let me ask you, so you've been at this for a minute now. What advice would you give to others who might be thinking about starting a nonprofit in their community?
Okay. I can say for myself, what I'm doing is my passion.
Hmm.
So I have to say, make sure that whatever you do is a purpose, that you have a purpose. And I believe that for me is to live a purposeful life with every morning remaining grateful. That that is my that's what I live. I live a purposeful life, and I wake up every morning with a spirit of gratitude.
So, anyone who is listening now, I'm sure you understand why it was so important for me to have Janet on as my first guest.
Um,
um,
oh, thank you.
because you can hear the passion in her voice regarding her work. And it really is your ministry.
It is. It is. It really is. It is.
And I think all of what you do in learning and to manage and to grow your organization is really just for the good of the community and the folks that you serve.
Yes.
So, Janet, thank you so much. Don't go away because I'm going to bring you back in a minute with Perry, but we're going to take another commercial break. And then I'm going to ask us to be joined by Mr. Perry Gunn. But again, thank you, Janet.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Nearly half the adults in America have high blood pressure. But because it develops slowly over time, many don't even know they have the condition. The only way to know your blood pressure for sure is by testing it with the American Heart Association's guidelines. There are two numbers in a blood pressure reading. The top number measures systolic pressure, or the maximum pressure your heart exerts while beating. The bottom number is the diastolic pressure, which is the amount of pressure in your arteries between beats. A normal blood pressure reading is anything under 120/80. If your blood pressure is higher than that, have a conversation with your doctor. If your numbers are ever over 180/120, consult your doctor immediately. There are some things you can't change that can increase your risk for developing high blood pressure, including family history, age, and race. But it can be successfully managed through lifestyle changes and medications. To keep your blood pressure in a healthy range, eat a well-balanced diet that's low in sodium. Exercise regularly. Lose weight. Quit smoking, drink less alcohol, and manage stress. By knowing your numbers and working with your doctor, you can lower your blood pressure and lead a healthier life.
Well, welcome back. Before we bring on my guest, Perry Gunn, I wanted to just remind folks, if you are interested in any of the workshops or the summit, first I want to give a shout out to the Indianapolis Foundation. They are the sponsor of most of the work that we do in Indianapolis, and we're so excited to have them as a partner. But you can go to our website at partechgroup.com and you'll get more information on the workshops, the summit. You'll get information on how to register for anything that is coming up. So I just wanted to make sure I said that. But now I want to shift gears and bring on my friend Perry Gunn. Perry is an exceptionally experienced consultant, but he comes to this work having led some of the largest organizations in the Chicagoland area. But Perry didn't just about large organization. He has worked from the large, just from the small to the large. And when I first started doing this work in Indianapolis, there were two people I reached out to. The first was my friend Daryl Mason, who's here in Indianapolis. And as we began to scale up our work, the next person was Mr. Perry Gunn. And Perry, I am so excited. One, that you're on the show today. Two, that and people will learn more about your work with Janet. But again, I just want to thank you for joining me today. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, and thank you for having me.
Yes.
It's a pleasure.
If people just don't know, Perry is the go-to guy, particularly all things around fundraising, but that's not his sole expertise. But I think anyone who has ever attended a workshop will understand that when he gives you advice about things to do, if you want to raise money, if you listen to him and do what he says, you will raise money. But before we jump into that, I thought maybe it would be helpful if you shared a little bit about your journey moving from a nonprofit leader to consulting, that maybe just to share with folks a little bit about that journey.
Sure. So what happened, Alyson, I spent more than 40 years working in the nonprofit world in many, many different capacities, helping nonprofit organizations deliver great work to the community. And as I acquired this knowledge and wisdom, when I retired in 2019, I realized that I had a skill and some knowledge that could be shared with other organizations that could help them do better work in the community to better deliver their mission and their vision. And so that's how I got involved with it. And once I started working and connecting with organizations, it just felt great to be able to help groups do their work.
Well, I know you have worked with so many organizations, both in the Chicagoland area and pretty much all over the Midwest. Um, and I remember the first day I ever met you, and I think it was at the University of Chicago.
That's correct.
What struck me was that you were such a humble guy that it was just so obvious that it was just all about service and how could you share with organizations that had a desire to learn. And so I'm not going to lie, once I moved to Indy, you were on speed dial.
Yeah.
Because when we're doing this work with grassroots organizations, you want to have people on the team that first and foremost really care about the work, care about community, and have a desire to share. And so given that, knowing you have worked with so many different organizations, even with your own organization, the Nonprofit Membership Club, can you share what you see are some of the common challenges that grassroots organizations face? It could be related to fundraising or just in general, but just what are some of your observations about grassroots organizations?
Sure. So I'll start and focus on fundraising. One of the things that happens with nonprofit organizations when they look at fundraising is that they go out and they look at grants as the solution. And grants are obviously one piece of the fundraising work, but grants are really difficult to get.
Mhm.
Number one, you need to find a great grant writer. Number two, only 1 out of 7 grants are won by nonprofit organizations. So that's a more difficult challenge than you think. And unless you're doing a volume thing, it's really going to be difficult for you. So that's one challenge. Then the next challenge is a lot of grassroots leaders don't spend enough time on fundraising. They don't give enough time. What I have found that has been successful in my career is you need to spend as a leader of an organization about 45% of your time on fundraising. If you want to sustain your organization, that's the amount of time that you need. And then the last thing is that most nonprofit organizations don't focus on the right fundraising activities.
Okay.
Focus on all kinds of things instead of, individual giving. And because 70% of all dollars come in from individuals, you should put more emphasis on working to acquire dollars from individual givers. That is really a simple challenge for most nonprofits.
Wow. And I know you have some slides. So, one of the things that I decided when we were launching this podcast was that we wanted to make sure we were lifting up organizations in the community who are doing great work, and sometimes their story is not being told. But we also wanted to carve out time for resource professionals such as yourself to share some tips with folks, and in this case, we want to talk about fundraising. So I'm going to kind of shut up and let you have at your slides to kind of help people to understand. So this is the learning moment, learning
Absolutely.
segment. So take it away, Perry.
So yeah, anytime you want to get into fundraising, you have to start with a plan. You need a plan that's going to talk about your needs as an organization. List out your needs. So what you need money for. What do you need money for at your organization? And then what's very important is you need to establish a realistic fundraising goal. And this goal is based on the volunteers that you have available to help you do this work. And then there are the action steps. You have to actually go out and execute this plan. Get out and do the work, assign people to do the work. And then look at who you have relationships with already at the organization. Who do you currently connect with? What corporations do you have relationships with? What foundations? And obviously individuals. And I already talked about this, but focus on individual giving because 70% of all dollars coming into charities comes from individuals. And lastly, look at the internal family. Ask your board members, ask your staff, ask your volunteers for name of prospects that you can go after. So those are some immediate tips. And then the next thing is, as we look at fundraising, and like anybody, when we go shopping on Amazon or whatever, they ask us to put it in the cart, put this in the cart. So I always tell people, how do you move individuals, foundations, and corporations from the cart to checkout? And when I say checkout, that means you're going after the money and you're getting the gift. Mm-hmm. So how you do that is you start by customizing your cultivation to each prospect. Don't use the same approach with everyone. Customize it. Use touch points, and touch points are ways that you contact your donors, meaning you send them a newsletter, you send them a thank you letter, you invite them to events. How many times do you touch your donors? And then make your ask. Don't beat around the bush. Ask for the money. Make the ask. That's why you're there. Stewardship. Make sure you keep your donors informed about the work on an ongoing basis. And this is one of the most important pieces. We want to create what I call not payment gifts, but partnership gifts. A payment gift is when somebody just says, oh yeah, I'll give you $25. There's no relationship there. But a partnership gift is an investment in the work that you do. It's an investment in the organization. So it's a transformative gift. So that's what you want to focus on.
Wow. So when you think about your work in the fundraising space, mm-hmm. if an organization is doing all of that, where does storytelling fit in to their ability to improve their fundraising?
So storytelling is really where you make the emotional connection between you and the donor. And so what I think about when I talk about storytelling is that's an opportunity for you to try to build a commonality between you and the donor. And so, for example, Alyson, when I'm talking to someone who might be working with a youth organization, what I might do, for example, is say, hey, when you were a young person, there was somebody there for you. There was probably the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, a youth center, somebody, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, who was there for you? And now I got them connected to the point of there was a youth organization that also helped me. I had a mentoring program. And so storytelling brings you together. It connects them emotionally about the work and how you can touch their hearts.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Perry, the work that we're doing here and the work in Chicago, one of the things that I see, I'm sure you see it as well, is that when people talk about fundraising, there is this focus on, I just need to get a grant. And I've seen organizations with very limited dollars willing to gamble on hiring a grant writer to write a grant and hope, almost like the lotto. Like, if I can just spend my last $500 to write this proposal, then all my challenges. Do you see that? And what do you say to folks that want to prioritize grant writing?
So what I tell folks is that, first of all, grant writing and grants are not guaranteed. Even if you write the best proposal, they're not guaranteed. There are a lot of other steps involved in trying to win a grant, mm-hmm. which means you still got to contact the program officers. You still got to build that relationship. You still got to sell them on the work that you're doing and your credibility. So I think that there are other ways that small grassroots organizations can focus on. And for me, it's really about building an internal team of fundraising ambassadors who could help you go into the streets and outreach into the community to find people who can give you money. Build up your own network internally and use those peer-to-peer relationships to go after money in the community. When you take that approach, you can win. I'll give you a quick example. I was working in a program in the Chicago area, running this beautiful big program for young people. The funding got cut because the funder went out of business all of a sudden. We got all these kids, hundreds of kids who are ready to participate in the program. What we did was we said, hey, Let's come together. Let's find what I call team captains who can help to raise money on behalf of this campaign that we're running. And let's raise money to make sure this program can go on. We did that. We were able to raise $100,000 in 1 month and keep that program going. And so what we did is we got a group of ambassadors from the community who wanted to do good for the community. They went out and raised money from their own friends, and all of us did the same thing. And collectively, we were able to raise $100,000 and let that program continue.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. I got one more question for you because I'm sure there are people wondering about this. With all of the talk about AI, and you can use AI for this and AI for that. What are your thoughts in terms of AI and as it pertains to fundraising?
I think AI is a contemporary tool that can be used in today's fundraising circles. What you have to do is to take AI and find templates that you will ultimately customize to meet your needs and your work. Don't just take the document that AI spits out and use it verbatim. You got to customize it to make it fit what it is you're trying to do. So it is a wonderful tool where you can find certain letters and certain proposal samples and all kinds of fundraising documents and tools, but you've got to use it where it's just a template.
Okay.
It gives you a sample of how to take something and build off of that to do good in terms of fundraising work.
Okay.
It's definitely usable, but it's not the end of all, because you don't want to take somebody's work verbatim and just copy it.
Okay.
It's a template that gives you an example that you can use to build off of and use it to do the work that you're trying to do and the goals and objectives you're trying to meet.
Well, Perry, for those of you, if you've not attended any of Perry's trainings, Perry will be with us in April for the summit. And so maybe we'll have him to do a little something special again on the fundraising tip, because we realize that that's key to sustaining your organization. But at this time, I want to bring up Janet to join Perry because Janet and Perry have a special relationship.
That's right.
And it is part of the initiative supported by the Indianapolis Foundation, where the foundation identified a number of organizations operating in the community. Wasn't necessarily based on if you were a grantee or not, but they just were watching the good work. And so we set up a relationship where each organization would receive a consultant to work with over a period of months. And so we ended up pairing Perry and Janet. And so I just thought it would be helpful if I could start with Janet, just to say, what was it like when you were first assigned Perry as a consultant? Had you ever worked with a consultant before? But if so, or if not, what was that like?
Well, I tell you, Perry was my first consultant.
Okay.
Well, I tell you, because I started through Pitch Feast, but Perry was my first consultant. And actually, Alyson, I met Perry at one of your workshops.
Oh, okay.
And we happened to be sitting together in the same row, and we got to talking. But after your workshop, I actually met with him I think we did it by phone or
by phone. It was by phone.
Yes. And then I start working with him because he's told me, he said, I got to see you're really serious about this. And actually I started working with him before you assigned me to Perry.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
You didn't know that, but yeah. And so, well, I tell you, first thing I want to say, thank you. Really, thank you. Because can I just add this? I actually met you through Ed Martin.
That's right.
When you were helping them to, I guess, to restructure or whatever their programs. And I was sitting there and I said, God, I want to connect with this lady. And not knowing that God made it happen. So
Yeah.
yes, yes. But yeah, working with Perry has been a blessing. And he's people tell me that I'm very passionate.
Mhm.
Perry is very passionate.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I mean, I can text him or call him and he will get back to me as soon as possible.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yes, yes. Perry has been I had a crisis, but I did have an issue last year
Mhm.
where that I needed some what would we call it? What kind of funding did we call it? Hardship funding.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. And so I was kind of panicking a little bit, and Perry said, "I got this, I got this," and he just guided me and told me what to do. He told me to write the organization, tell him about my hardship, and I mean, this wasn't during the grant time. This was just for hardship, and then I did, and then he even helped you write your hardship letters or whatever you need. Perry would assist you in accomplishing that. Uh,
Well, so let me shift to Perry. So you met Janet. What was it like? Maybe to explain to folks a little bit about what the engagement entailed, and like what are some of the things you two worked on, over the course of several months.
So I worked with Janet on a number of different items, and the engagement was really to work on items and things that she needed support on: board development, um, budgeting, whatever it was she needed support on. Those are the items that I worked on. And so what I tried to do is I not only tried to um, educate, the individual, because Janet is a really big listener and she takes great notes and she wants to make sure she understands the concept. So if I'm talking about budgeting and the chart of accounts, she really wants to know what is a chart of accounts. And so
Mm-hmm.
we walk through those things so that she understands moving forward. She's learned the concept and can actually use it in her work. So it's become practical for them. And so my goal as a consultant is to work on, and we identified 3 or 4 things that we could work on. And my goal was to touch base on all of those things. How do you recruit a board? How do you set up your officers? And how do you educate them? What's the relationship work with the board? Or on fundraising, what's your approach? So all those are the kind of things we worked on. And it has really been a pleasure and a joy to work with Janet because
wow.
she's someone who she sucks it up and just goes after it. And she gets that knowledge and like, I got it, Perry, I got it. And it makes you feel so great as a consultant that they've got it and they have built their skills up to the point where they're confident to keep moving forward. So that's what I've always that's really been a relationship with Janet and myself. And so whenever I get a call for it's a great feeling because I know she's going to take that and put it to use to serve her seniors and her caregivers.
Well, it has been such a pleasure. One, I think for people to hear about Janet, your amazing work in the community. Sometimes we can get so focused on the issues of youth, which, not to diminish that in any way, but we sometimes forget about seniors and their needs. And so to be a real champion for seniors and their needs. We applaud you. And then Perry, again, just continuing to share your wisdom with people and encouraging them to step out of their comfort zone, particularly when it comes to fundraising, because sometimes that can be a little difficult. But encouraging them to step out of their comfort zone and make the ask. I think when people do it, they realize that people will give. And I'm so happy that the two of you were able to connect and that it has been a great experience for both of you. And so, with that, I just want to close out the show today. Again, thanking both of you for joining me. Hopefully, I'll see you both in the summit in April. We're really excited about that. But for those of you who, again, are operating in Marion County, Indianapolis, Indiana, running a BIPOC organization, make sure you take advantage of the workshops and the summit that we have coming up. All of this is really designed to help organizations scale and ultimately to be more impactful in their community. And so our next session, Janet, is going to be a little competition because Cecilia has also done some amazing work. And I just love both of you and the work that you're doing in community. And Perry, Cecilia will be with Cheryl. But that's our motto. We want to lift up organizations and we want to offer some resources. So with that, everyone have a great week. Thank you again, Perry and Janet, for joining me. And stay tuned to our next segment. Thank you.